All right, we are in the Cursed Swamp. It's in Friday's qualifying round, and I didn't have time yesterday, and I won't have time tonight. So I thought I'd pop out, just go out there and just play it. I know which holes we're playing, but I have no notes as far as what I should be doing on them. So I'm just going to go out there and play, so we can just kind of see what the holes look like and just have some fun. Not putting in a lot of effort into the note stuff. Just going to go out there and just try and have some fun playing. So let's check out hole number one. I do know just from playing some of these holes quite a bit. I do have some stuff, but my notes just have what hole it is and which Sunshine Glades hole. And that's it. Just try and go out there and see if we can get her done. The par fours are going to be the key here, really, to succeed. Is you need to get an eagle on all three of the par fours, and that's the deal. So on this first hole here, I'm going to take a rock. I'm going to take a super accurate club, it's the accurate bag, and I'm going to take a Kingmaker. It's not the king of balls, but it's close. And we'll go out there and see what we can get done. Hole number one. I'm not sure where the new course that's coming out. I'm not sure which tours it's on. I need to go out there and see if I can shoot some video on those holes and get some playtime in on them. Probably just shoot some video while I'm watching TV, and if I catch those holes, then I'll go out and voice over it. My opponent goes first. And I think the last time I was here, I was taking a little bit of wind off, so it's 0.95. I'm going to take like 0.5%, 5%, take 5% of the wind off. So it's 0.95 times whatever the wind is divided by 1. Hitting it perfect, El Perfecto. Hitting the rough nicely, rolling right up to the cup. That's very nice. Very nice. Nice shot. Let's do the wind first. 2.8. It's 2.66 rings. Right at max club. I'm going to do I know that the last time we were here, I was doing very little adjustment, but just a little teeny bit of top spin. 2.66 rings. There's 2.5, 2.66. Let's try and hit it perfect. Hitting it perfect. See if we can get that to go in the cup. Pretty close. Close. So I came in on the right hand side. I took a little bit of wind off and I still over pulled it, so that number may not be 5, it may be a little bit more than that. It may be taken like maybe 10% off. And I'm pretty dang close to max club, so. And it was a little teeny bit fast. I remember last time we played this hole, it looked like, like you didn't need to put any topspin on it, but if I didn't put any topspin on it, it came in soft. And it just was like a little teeny sliver of topspin. But that was a little hot, so even if it had been on trajectory, I think it would have bounced off the flagpole or bounced over the hole. It was just a little too hot, and that was probably maybe a quarter bar of topspin. I'm going to play some of these par 3s just so that I can get a little bit of time and grade on them. Especially I think this is the middle par 3. And I'm going to play this with a Marlin, not a Kingmaker. So I'm not sure I'll be able to get in the right club. But the first par 3, I definitely, which for my game has never been a high percentage hole. Just trying to find a spot. Let's see, where am I at in my club? Yeah, Yeah, so with a 0 Powerball, I would be in my wood right now. I'm going to do plus 10%, so that's basically 3-3. One ring great to the left. Almost. Close. And that, you can choose kind of how you're going to pick that. You could use your long iron, or you could use your wood. Good game. Good luck in the tournament. All right, that was hole number 1. And you can see, look at all of that. This is why I'm saying hole number 1, you've got to get an eagle. So these people that are up here at the top with have played 2 holes that are at -2, that's not going to cut it. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people out of 20 who got an eagle on hole number 1. That you've got to get an eagle on hole number 1 if you want to have any shot of being up towards the top. Let's go to hole number 2. Hole number 2 is hole number 5 of Sunshine Glades. Using Golf Clash Notebook. All right, this is the par 3 that I've had hole-in-ones on this, but this is not a high percentage one for me. And I'm going to use this area right here. So I'm going to try and get up into this area right here and just try and bring it around. So I'm going to avoid any problems with this sand. And depending on which way the wind's blowing, this can be very tricky. The spot from over here, if you look at your arc, so if you get down into that area and you're over here trying to come up, your second bounce is right here. So on your arc, if you get it wrong, you've got a little window over here. If you get it wrong, you could very easily find yourself in the sand, or if you don't make the right pull. And so I don't normally like to come at it like this. I have. I remember the first Masters tournament I ever played in, we had this hole, because, well, pretty much every damn tournament out there, you've got some kind of Sunshine Glades hole, but you had to come at it from this side over here. And this hole right here was rough, especially if you got the wrong wind. All right, I'm going to take, let's go get something here. I'm going to take, I know that you can do this with a sniper if you've got an upper developed sniper, but I think in most cases a Guardian's probably going to be a better shot. I have no idea where I'm going to be at my club, but I remember in the past I've done a 10% wind adjustment, or a 10% adjustment. But I think depending on which way the wind's blowing, you're going to have to change that. So if you're going up against the headwind, that number may go up. It's not an elevation. We like to think of it all the time, and everybody will go, you need to make an elevation adjustment. It's not always elevation. So sometimes we need to make adjustments because of elevation. And you can usually tell that because if you try and scroll down on your ball to make a wind adjustment and you can't get very close to it, you're way downhill. If you can get down to the point where you can see the dirt underneath of the grass, you're usually uphill. I come up into this area here. I'm going to put max backspin on it. As much side spin as I can get. See if I can get this dialed into it. .7, 3.7. So it's going to be about 4. This Guardian hits, and I don't like doing these types of adjustments. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Hitting it perfect. It's going to probably run too far past it. Yeah. Got that wrong. Got it wrong. First time I've taken that shot. Because normally I catch this hole in Tour 7 all the time and I play it different. So the only time we ever get to play this, and this is the deal, way too much backspin on it. I'm trying to feed it up there. The way that the wind's blowing, I really am gonna make a different adjustment where it's not as much backspin on it. I want to be farther over to the right so that when I make the pull, I don't have to. You can see how my rings were distorted in the sand. Sometimes when you're in sand like that, instead of like religiously following your rings, you have to look at how the rings are being distorted by the sand, and you kind of have to extrapolate where the ring really is. And so if I can keep myself from having to make that adjustment over the sand, that would be much more better. In the hole. Birdie. I can't even remember these holes. Even though I shot that video the other day for the walkthrough, just kind of a scouting report, I cannot remember these holes. It's not like I haven't played them thousands of times. I don't know overall like which holes in tournaments we've played the most, but the very first tournament that ever happened in Golf Clash, these holes were in that tournament. And then it was later on that first year, sometime in like the early fall, late summer, we played these holes again. And I know for a fact that there are some of these holes that we've already played 4 times this year, not including this tournament. I'm going to skip this. I feel like I got this down. Good game. Good luck in the tournament. All right, that was hole number 2 of the Cursed Swamp. Let's check out hole number 3. Hole number 3. And hole number 3 is going to be Sunshine Glades hole number 9. It's a big par 5. All right, I'm going to go over into this area right here, and I'm going to bring out my big boy. I'm going to bring out an Apocalypse, and I'm going to see like what I can do as far as like getting up into this area with a bigger power ball and getting over. I'm going to explore it. So I'm going to set up 2 different bags. Either way, I want to take a Guardian. So I'm going to take these 2 bags right here. Let me think. I will switch that out. Let's bring out a big power ball. Is that a power 5 or a power 4? That's a power 5. 3 side spin, 1 wind. Now that ball's not going to help you as much when you're going for the shot to the cup. That's the thing about it is if you're trying to set yourself up on one of these shots for, especially like on these Albie shots, if you're on a par 4 and you can get on the green, it doesn't matter that the wind is only 1. But when you're on these par 5s and you're using a power 5 ball to put yourself in the right spot in order to go for the cup, especially if you're playing in pro or expert up in the upper divisions, the wind is going to kill you on the shot that really counts. So having one of those balls that has a higher wind, and I know that they've come out with some that are 5 power that have lower wind, is a big deal. And I'm going to take this ball right here just because I want to try this shot out, and I want to take this bag to start off with. We'll just see what we can do. I have no idea. I just want to see what's possible getting out there. UCLA Bruins. Really, if you're going to go for the rough bump, you really need to get all the way out there towards the sand. Okay, so the wind's going to push me forward about 2 rings. And I'm going to put a bunch of curl on it. Let's just see what it looks like. Let's just see what that looks like. Hit it 1 ring great to the right. I should be able to make this landing unless I went too far. Overshot it. That's how much more it carries down into that area. It's okay. That's all right. That's okay. That's how it goes. So it carries a lot down there. So I was coming in at it more on this side right here. If I want to do the max overpower, I need to come in at it more towards the tip where I've got a little bit more length. So I was a little bit to the right of the longest spot down here, and there was room. If I'd have hit that ball perfect, or if I'd have hit it 1 ring great to the left, there was still probably a good 10 yards out there, and I wouldn't have overshot it. So I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do exactly the same shot, only I'm going to set it up a little bit more to the left and try and hit it perfect. See, this is a no fuss, no muss view. Now, I believe that my opponent is in the in-between area. They're eking more towards where they can really get that rough bump. But let's try this one more time. And I've got a much bigger wind now than I had before. So I'm going to take a little bit of it out. Oh, and I screwed that one up. I'm in the same exact spot I was in before. Whew. Just barely. So with an Apocalypse, the problem is I don't have enough topspin to get me over that rough on the other side. So that shot will be better served with an extra mile, especially if you've got an extra mile 9, because you got more topspin. You could bridge that gap so that the first bounce hits and then you're over. The other thing is the extra mile is going to give you less distance, less raw distance, so you'll have a better opportunity to land in that area, but you really have to be cognizant of how strong the wind is in order to get up there. Now we really need to make this shot, and this is not a okay, there's max guardian, there's min, so I'm about mid, so I'm about 1-3 per ring. My only hope here, Obi-Wan. So it's 2.9 divided by 1.3. It's about 2.5 rings. Try and hit it perfect. Oh, hit it great to the right. And that's what great to the right is. Great to the right is miss the rough. That's why when you're hitting on the, if you're hitting where you're going straight forward and the rough is you're in a straight line with the rough, as opposed to being up in the rough where you're at the perpendicular. If you're in the perpendicular and you make the right wind adjustment, if you hit it great to the left or the right, you're going to still hit the rough. But if you're on that straight line with it and you hit it great to the left or the right, you're usually in the deep brown stuff. Good game. Not playing conservative on that. It's so easy to get an eagle on that hole. The whole deal is trying to see what's possible to give yourself a little bit better Albie shot. Like if you could get way up in the front and get into your long iron range, I think you'd have a much better shot. You think about if you've got a long iron that's 1 per ring and you got a wood that's 1 per ring, even though there are still 1 per ring, when you're hitting from farther back, It's not, you've got a much better shot if you can hit with a smaller club. You've got a better shot with a short iron than you do with a long iron. You've got a better shot with a long iron than you do with a wood. You've got a better shot with your wood than you do with your driver. It's like on those par fours, if you're going for hole in one on a par four, would you rather, if you could, obviously you can't, but if you could, take out a short iron and go for it, you'd have a much better shot at getting a hole in one. All right, hole number 4. Hole number 4. Sunshine Glades, hole number 8. All right, I'm gonna do. All right, I don't know which way the wind's blowing here, so we're just gonna watch and see which way the wind's blowing. I'm not sure which ball I will need, but I'm gonna take this bag right here, and I'm gonna take a nav. Just cut the wind down just a little bit. If I'm in the range and the wind's blowing right for the rough bump, I'm gonna do a 10%. I know in the past we've started off, like, depending on which way the wind's blowing, you may have to change the number, but I know, like, as a base number, I'm pretty sure I was doing like a 10% adjustment on this. I could be wrong, but I know we were doing some kind of an adjustment. And this wind right here is a little more problematic doing that rough bump, because if you do get it wrong, so my opponent's got a katana and a sniper. They're trying to go straight at it. I really want to be at max club, so I may drop down to a Marlin. We'll see where I'm at. So I'm about mid club, so that's about 1 per ring. So 4.4 equals divided by 1.1, about 4.4 rings. There's 4. Try and hit it perfect. Ah! I had my ball guide running right up to it, but it's hard to tell when you're doing rough bumps and you don't hit a perfect shot whether or not it hit a little deeper into the rough on the right hand side, and so that's what laid it down, or if I need to run the ball guide through the cup. So it's hard to get any kind of a read on that as far as distance. In the hole. I like our chances on this hole, though. This hole right here, if you know the numbers, if you really do some research and watch some shots and watch some people's video and really see how they're making the adjustment on that. And the other thing is I could have over pulled that. So I did a 1.1 per ring, and maybe it was where it was at. That was an over pull. Maybe the 10% was an over pull, so I hit farther into the rough. It might be one of those ones where we just do, we have to, if I hit too far in it, I could have over pulled that, and that's why it's short. That's where you go back. This is why it's so important to record your own gameplay, because then you can go back and you can watch what you did, and you can see where it hit, and you can see where you set it up, and you can see where it hit and see, did I hit further back in my shot, or did I hit further forward in my shot? And it ran past the hole, and maybe it ran past the hole not because I put too much topspin on it. Maybe it ran past the hole because I didn't pull out enough of the wind. And in that case right there, it could be several things. Maybe I over pulled it, and by over pulling it, I hit further into the rough, and then I pulled out that distance. Or did I have that right, and I just didn't put on enough topspin, and I need to run it through the hole more? That way you can analyze your own gameplay. It's super important to record your own gameplay. There's tons of different apps out there. I use DU Recorder, and I don't think you can get DU Recorder anymore through the Play Store, because DU Recorder and YouTube are having a pissing match on streaming, and so they've taken it out of the Play Store. But there's tons of different apps that you can get to record your own gameplay. Hole number 5, Sunshine Glades, hole number 4. All right, this is another one of those holes. I'm going for the green, and I usually it takes two or three shots to get this one down, because it's super easy to overshoot the green, and the whole deal is to try and do it where you don't have any. I was thinking it's raw distance though. I'm going to use my extra mile just because of the topspin. But as far as raw distance, you'd be better off if you've got an APOC 5. You'd probably be better off with the APOC 5 if you don't have a maxed out extra mile. My whole thing is I don't want to do any overpower on this, because it's super easy to end up in trouble. Even if you don't do any overpower, it's super easy to end up in trouble. Opponent's going for the bounce over the island. I like the bounce over the island. And actually, now that I have my big topper hits more yardage, my big topper actually might be the club. Because in the past with the big topper, if you've got a lower developed big topper, you got to do a max overpower shot, and you have to hit it perfect. And I've got my big topper up to level 7 now, and it picked up a bunch of yardage. You can see a lot of people playing over to this side right here, and I am just I love these close shots. I mean, if you watch my stuff on a regular basis, I'm always a fan of getting up as close as you can, but I just think in this particular scenario, I'm going to just put on 2 topspin. I want to give myself as much room as I can here. 2-6. I'm going to do about a ring and a third. Oh. That'll work. I would still like to be... I'm still going to be having to hit through those moguls. But at least it's a chip where I can flatten it out with a rapier, as opposed to having to come at it this way right here. And if you're coming at it this way, wow, it looks like they flattened this out a little. Like some of those moguls are gone. Doesn't it look like they flattened it out? They have flattened it out. Wow. I mean, that changes the whole complexion of this hole. So if you can get over there where my opponent's out and they've taken those moguls out, that's huge. Because you won't have to bring out as big a ball in order to get over into that area and try and get up where I'm at if they've taken those moguls out. But it sure looks like they've taken those moguls out to me. And I will tell you, this green, it was tough before. If they've taken those moguls out, this hole has almost come to the point where you've got to get that eagle. And they have taken those moguls out. I kind of liked it before, because the whole deal was that this is a tough hole, and you had to have your stuff, you had to have it right. From this distance, wind is going to play a little bit of a factor. I'm gonna hedge my bet and split the difference. Oh. Close. They have taken the moguls out on this, so that should be good news for everybody. That will be good and bad news for everybody, because if you have a way that you can get up there and you can get on the side where I'm at, or you can get on the green using the big topper shot where you're on the green, the deal is especially with the big topper. I mean, let's go look at that hole. That's if you use the big topper and you could get over here. The whole deal is you split the green in half. You can see where all these little marks are on here, where the shadow marks are. This thing was moguled to hell. So if before with the big topper shot coming over where you're doing your second bounce on the island and you're trying to come here, you were on this side of the green and this side was flat. That was one of the benefits of doing that. Coming out here and doing the shot that I was, where you're trying to bring it in here, your goal is to really clip the rough and try and bleed your ball so that your ball is coming in this direction, so you end up over here on the flat. What you don't want was to end up right up here on the green, because then you had to traverse all of the moguls to get to the cup. And that was worse than taking the shot from over here. But doing the shot from over here was in my opinion, it's a great shot because you're in your short iron, but you had to traverse these moguls coming into it, and where the green was at, it was tough. But if they've taken those moguls out, they've made this shot right here on a perfect shot. Whew, that is, I mean, they've made the hole easier. And what really pisses me off about the game is that there are, you have so many people in the group that are bitching that stuff is too tough. And the whole deal is that if it's like real golf. Real golf isn't easy. I played real golf for 30 years, and it's not easy. I've played real golf for 30 years and never gotten a hole-in-one. And I'm not the only one in that group. There are millions of people who have played golf for 30 years and never gotten a hole-in-one. Okay, this game is tough. It will eat your lunch. And so, hey, the course is too hard, so they make stuff easier. No. Get better at the game. And so in some respects, it's like, hey, they have made this hole a ton easier, but that's not good for people that actually are already good at the game. What they're doing is they're trying to level the playing field by making it easier for the people that are behind you that aren't as good at the game. And so on one side of the coin, it's like, hey, that is a much easier without those moguls there. But on the other side of the coin, for people who have really put in the effort and are willing to bring out the stuff to try and get the eagle on this hole, they've made it so that this hole is almost like hole number one now. You've got to get an eagle. That's not good, depending on where you're at. All right. Hole number 6. What is hole number 6? Hole number 6 is Sunshine Glades, hole number 6. All right, I'm trying to get over into this area right here. And I'm going to bring my extra mile Sniper Grizzly Hornet. I'm going to bring out a Kingmaker. It's not the King. It's close. Titans work excellent on this. Power 4 ball would work excellent too. If you've got some power 4 inventories, let's see, like if I don't like the look with the power 3, what would my power 4 ball look like? Maybe the open ball, and I got a few of those. It may not be the best one in the bunch, but that ball right there might not be bad. Because really the money shot here is that second shot. If you can get over to the other side, that summit ball would work really well. I'm going to start off with a Kingmaker, and if I don't like the look, I'll switch to an open ball. But as good a second shot as you would have if you can get over to the other side, it would be worth pulling out one of those summit balls. Some ball that when you get over to the other side, the shot going to the cup as low a wind as possible. We'll see if we can not epic fail on this par 5. The first par 5 is not that hard to get an eagle on. I was just out there trying to see what it would look like. Basically, I was practicing during the qualifying round. And that's not always a good thing. Two 4. It's 2.1 per ring, so it's just a little over a ring. Just try and hit it straight forward. Hit it one ring great to the left. Whoa down, Cat Daddy. Whoa down. That'll work. Now, depending on the angle that I'm at here, there is a rough bump that I can do here. And once again, this is another one of those holes that I know this shot coming to the cup, we were doing some type of an adjustment. I'm just going to go straight out. I may be able to do the rough bump from here. I actually like the rough bump better if you hit to the shot to the left and you're coming at it with your long iron and doing the rough bump with your long iron. You just have to make sure that you bring a long iron that's got enough topspin to get you up to the cup. Nice. Nice shot. Nice shot, man. Okay, there's Max. There's Min. What about mid club? It's like 175 per ring. So 2.8 divided by 1.75 is about 1 3/4 rings. So there's 1 3/4. Hitting it perfect. See if we can get that in the cup. Ooh, just a little too much speed. Little too much speed. That was a 10% adjustment at mid club, and I play mid hornet at 1.75 per ring. It's 1.75, 2. So if I'm at minimum club, it's 2 per ring. Mid club 1.75, minimum club 1.0, or max club, excuse me. And I know, those numbers aren't the numbers that are in the thing. That's just how I play my short irons. And that may mean that I have to do a different adjustment. Like I may be on a hole and I have to do a 10% adjustment, and everybody's like, hey man, we ain't doing any adjustment at all on that. And it all is predicated on what you're using for your rings. Because I play with a pen and paper, I have different numbers that I use. And the deal is that it doesn't matter what freaking numbers you use as long as you're consistent. Now, if you've got a teammate and they're like, hey, I'm taking that with a sniper at mid club and I'm using X number, 1.1 or 1.3 or 1.12 or 1.75 or whatever, 75.2, and I'm doing this right here, and you've got the same exact club using the same exact ball, and you use those same exact numbers, you may get the same exact result. But trying to be consistent, especially when you're playing one-on-one. So if that's the whole deal is I think a lot of people change their game from one-on-one to tournament play. In tournament play, they're trying to play other people's numbers. And one-on-one, they're playing their own numbers and trying to be consistent with it. Except the fact that if you're using X number and that number is putting you off on the left-hand side of the cup and the wind's blowing to the left, you may have to pull a little bit more. And just accept it. Try and be consistent in your game with your numbers. See if my opponent will forfeit. Yeah, I'll forfeit for him. I'll give him a win. Good luck in the tournament. That's the whole thing about this, is playing your numbers. Just playing like going out and watching video. Like this is why I always take the adjustment numbers with a grain of salt, because I don't know that adjustment is right for the numbers that I use on my club. And so going out there and seeing how people are playing the holes and learning and then once you figure out how you want to come at the hole, then you have to look at your game. Like if you're always ending up on the left and the wind's blowing to the left, then you're not pulling enough. And maybe that's a matter of you need to add on, or maybe it's you change your ring numbers. I usually will try and add on so that my ring numbers are consistent from one hole to the next. I'm not trying to remember that on one hole I'm using my sniper and I'm doing a 1.1, and then on the next hole I'm doing a 1.3, and the next hole I'm doing a 1.2, and every single time it was in mid club. Sticking with the number and then changing that adjustment number to match what you're actually achieving out on the hole. What hole? Well, that was 6. So we're on hole number 7, which is Sunshine Glades, hole number 2. That's just the problem, is I think a lot of people they're not trying to learn how to play the game for themselves. They're trying to go out there and have somebody teach them how to play that hole so that they can get a great effect. And the whole deal is that I want to help you guys get a great effect by showing you shots, especially during the walkthroughs where I'm trying to show you as many different ways that you can possibly go at that hole. I do know on this hole I'm going to do a 10% adjustment, and I'm going to do it at 1.3 per ring, so I'm at minimum club. And I'm going to take a Marlin and a sniper. That's all I need. See if we can get something. 24 commons, that's all we're looking for. I want to keep those commons rolling so that I can participate in the prism chest. The prism chest has really changed the whole thing. That whole deal about you're playing with those clubs. Hey, when the prism chest came out, everybody has access. You can start really maxing your clubs out. Before the prism chest, you had those extra club cards, and other than what you opened up every day, you weren't getting any advancement on your clubs. But with the prism chest, you now have the opportunity to really start to work on your clubs. So putting in the time and effort, if you're just at the point where you're getting to where you can use the prism chest, or where you're involved in it, and really putting in an effort for a couple months to build up an inventory, so that then you can just play like, an hour or two every day, and just playing when you're in your playtime, and you can maintain that inventory so that the prism chest is a perpetual motion thing. It's never going to run out. You're always going to have 300 commons. You're always going to have 30 rares. You can really start to work on your clubs. And it's 3.2 equals divided by 1.3. It's 2.7 rings. It's like 2 in a sliver. I'm going to go right at it. So it's 2.7 rings. There's 2, 5, 6, 7. Let's hit this perfect. Hitting it perfect. It's going to be a little short. Right on track. With that headwind on there, I need to put on maybe just a titch more topspin. A lot of times on this hole we'll get a headwind, but with a slight side, and this is going to be more of the direct headwind, so we're either going to have to put on just a little teeny bit more topspin to counteract that headwind. In the hole. I really feel of the par 3s that are in this right here is, in my game, and I think in most people's game, this is our absolute best chance for hole-in-one. And that second par 3 is our second best chance. And the first par 3 is this par 3 right here is problematic. I'm going to play this like I do in one-on-one, just so that I can demo what that looks like. I'm not sure, because I normally play this in Tour 7. And I do not like that shot on that side. That was definitely not enough of a pull. And the way that they look right there is that they're going to go very long, and it'll hit the downslope and roll for a mile. That's exactly what it looked like it was going to do. And it looks like they flattened this green out a little bit as well, because it used to be if you got just a little bit past the cup, it would roll out pretty fast. Normally in one-on-one play, I play from right here. We're pretty close to min club, so it's 1.3 per ring. So in one-on-one play, this is normally, and I'm not going right at it, but 1.3, so It's 5.1 times 1.1 divided by 1.3 is like almost 4 rings. It's 3.92. Hitting it perfect. In one-on-one, this is how I play this all the time, because it's in tour 7. You're playing from those back tees, and a little too much topspin on that. And I was on that side of the cup, but I should have did, the way the wind was blowing, maybe a little bit more of a pull, maybe a 15%. Hold on, I'll be right back. Hold on. All right. Had to go talk to a man about a horse that was dancing. Exit. Hole number 8. Hole number 8 is going to be the last. This is the duck hole. I'm 100% sure it's the duck hole. Hole number 8 is hole number 7. Quack, quack. It is the duck hole. This is like going to the carnival. I'm going to try and hit into this area right here using a Power 5 ball. I want to try and give myself as much room here as I can and try and bring it around. Now, this is all about, I know if we draw a line, we're trying to hit right there, and we're starting off right here. So if we draw the line, if I can draw a freaking straight line, maybe going right through that area. So obviously we're going to have to put some curl on it in order to bring it through here, but we don't. If we put too much, we're going to end up in this. And so it's a fine line getting up there. Let me think here. Times. Let's bring a Power 5 ball. Let's go check out our bag options. One of the things about this Apocalypse versus this Extra Mile is all about that topspin. Now I'm keen on that extra 3 yards, because even with a Power 5 ball and an Extra Mile, you're still into the range where you need to kind of rub up against the nubs. There's still a little distance issue there. I'm going to try it with an Apocalypse. I'm going to try it with an APOC, and I'm going to use one of these Euro balls. Where's the Megalodon as far as cutting the wind down? Wind resistance 4. Yeah, that's a nice ball right there. I'm going to give myself the option, if I have to use the wind, and I think I do have to use the wind, that'll give me a little more options. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's try the APOC. We'll go out there and try it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. We'll see what we can do here on the duck hole. This hole right here, I'm either on this hole and I'm killing it, or I'm getting my ass beat. And I have ended up in the drink here quite a few times. I should change this to the bar hole, because every time you can very easily find yourself drinking on this hole. I don't know that that was enough of a pull with this kind of wind. I did have a little bit of overpower on it. That's 4, 8. There's 5. And I definitely want to lean a little. Oh, I'm in the sand. I can't believe that hit. It was close, but I'll have to go back and watch that and see what the deal was on the pull where I hit. Because I hit, that was 5,000 rings to the right. That was a good solid 1, if not a solid 2 rings to the right. Let's just split the difference and say it was 1.5 rings to the right. And I still ended up, so that means the wind's blowing. Like I believe that if you were all the way up there, you'd probably be doing a 10% adjustment, so it'd take off some of that. What's funny is I just used my apocalypse, and I'm not sure I count my apocalypse because an APOC 4 was at like 1.7 per ring. And I'm not actually sure what the accuracy is on the APOC 5. I've only used it a few times. I haven't had it for that long. All right. Let's just get up on it. Where am I at? That was to the left, to the right, to the right. You're right. You're right. Get that drive down here so you can get up there. You're on. Oh my gosh, that felt good. Oh, sorry about that. I love sneezing. I hate hiccuping as much as I love sneezing. They're on the opposite ends of the scale. I love to sneeze. No holding back, just sneeze. I do like that APOC though. It put me up there in that spot. I need to look at the accuracy numbers and actually be able to make a great wind adjustment on that. I think I got lucky. I underpulled it. I counted it at 1.7. So the way that I remember it is that as I was working my clubs up the scale and I had those clubs that were at 1.7, I'm gonna hit this hole again. Yeah, I got a power 5 ball, so it's gonna be all jacked up. I always and I remember a lot with my Guardian, because I played a lot with the Guardian as I was going up the scales to get my clubs developed, that when it was at 1.7, 3 rings is 5. It's actually 5.1, but I mean, for easy math, it was like, okay, hey, I've got to pull 7, so there's 5. And let's see what that hits at, because it would probably be nice to remember that number. It's a 1.5 per ring, so I actually did an overpull. It was right around 5, so I did a 3-ring pull. So it's at 1.5 per ring, so I actually did an overpull on it. So the wind is carrying pretty good in that spot. 1.5. Hole number 9. Hole number 9 is going to be Sunshine Glades, hole number 3. I did catch this hole, and it's hard to tell when you're playing pro from the pro tees versus the rookie tees, but I really, like if you could get out into this area right here. Now I know that we can pull up if we bring out a big power ball here, so if we do our arc, like in our arc shot, we could get out into this area right here without doing any overpower. So if we were playing from the rookie tees, now from the pro tees, it's difficult. You know, you can get back in here and you're so far away that if you came at this shot and you did a lot of curl, you're going to be in the sand. You need to get in your shot so that you're in front of this, like your landing spots here. And when you put on curl, you figure your first landing spots here. If you came in like this, you know, you're skirting along that edge. But when you're back in here and you put any kind of curl on it at all, you're just heading right towards the sand. So you need to kind of get in front of this trap in order to then make the swing on it. And it's hard to practice that from the pro tees and see what you would kind of get in the rookie tees. But I know that from the pro tee, if you hit out into here, it doesn't matter if you're playing from the pro tees or the rookie tees. If you hit out in here, from here, you can't get your wood up to this point in order to have that tee rough bump. I'm going to play this just like I'm going to play it exactly like I play when I'm playing one-on-one. In a one-on-one, I like to bring my rock, and I usually bring a marlin, but I'm going to bring a katana. I'll cut the wind down a little, give me some juice. The rock. QB works really well here because it's got a little more topspin. You can get a little farther up into the shadows. I'm just going to try and hit it up into the shadows and just come at the hole. What's funny is I've gotten a ton of albies. I've picked up a lot of the albies. I think I have like 120, 130 albies. And I've picked up quite a few albies on this particular hole. But it's, I think, maybe only one time in a tournament. And the rest of them have all been one-on-one. It's like I have more success on it in one-on-one. Because in one-on-one, I'm just coming out here with a marlin, and the whole goal is fairway to green, force shootout. And I'm never really too concerned about it. I like the spot that my opponent's in. They got a great shot to the cup. And with a power 5 ball, you could almost get over there and do a rough bump and end up in that front area in rookie. .39. It's about 4 rings. Getting it perfect. Let's try and get up there where my opponent's at. I don't like that bounce. I actually think with a power 5 ball, I may have been able to get over into that rough if I had brought out an extra mile, and I could do a rough bump and end up on the other side where I could open this rough bump up so it's a straight in rough bump. That's actually doing a second bounce rough bump with your APOC or your extra mile with a power 5 ball, getting over to that other side and having the shot coming straight at it. That is a super viable. Now, I don't have any special balls in my odd account, or I might actually try that. You could probably do it with a lower power ball and a bunch of overpower, but ideally you just want to go out there and just hit the shot. Ooh, close. Nice shot. Let's see what my wind is. 2.2 equals. Dismiss. Okay, there's min. There's max. So I'm at about mid club. So divided by 1.1, it's about 2.2 rings. .2. There's 1, 2, 5, 2, 2. Hitting it perfect. That was with a 10% wind adjustment at mid club. Just on the inside. Me and my opponent have that hole surrounded. Close. Maybe a 1.75 or a one, or a, instead of a 1.1 adjustment where I added on 10%, maybe just a 0.5%, the way the wind was blowing. So other than the first par 3 out there, just dinking around, seeing what was possible out there with a par 5 ball, pretty solid round. Picked up 2 of the 3 par 4s. The last par 4 is really key. I think if we pick up those 3 par 4s, you're looking at minus 15, and anything you can get over the top of that, that's the winning shot. So like picking up a hole-in-one, picking up an Albie, those are the winning shots. I'm gonna practice this. Where are we at here? There's man. I'm at about mid club. So it's 3.4 times 1.1 equals divided by 1.1, about 3.4 rings. I'll have to snap it off. Hit it great to the right. A little too far back in the... Close. And that was on a great to the right. So that tells you that I hit it great to the right, so I over pulled it. See if my opponent can get in the cup. There are so many different ways to go at this hole, depending on the way your wind's blowing, especially when you're playing from the pro tees. It is so important. I know sometimes when I'm doing the scouting reports, and my buddy Dale Appleby gives me shit about how long my scouting reports are sometimes, and then like an hour I'll spend 10 minutes on a par 3. But it is so important to know or have in your bag different ways to play a hole. Because you'll see a lot of people come onto a hole, like the hole that we just played, or you know, just picking a hole. They'll only have one way that this is it. And so you'll see them. What hole was that? That was hole number, which hole? That was, yeah, that wasn't that one. That was one of those par 3s. Is it that par 3 right there? So, you know, like coming at this hole and only having one way, like this is the only way that you know. And so that's great if the wind is, you know, helps you out. This shot right here is probably the utility shot. This is the first shot that you need to know how to do on this, because it'll work with a lot of the different types of winds. But depending on how the wind's blowing, the rough bump might be a better shot. You may be playing from the pro tees, and neither one of these shots works great because of the way that the wind's blowing and because of the ball that you have in your bag and the clubs that you're using in your bag. So maybe you need to start out over here and you need to bring it to the cup. Or maybe you can start off over here and you can backspin it to the cup. But there's 4 different viable ways that you could play this hole, and being able to adjust and look at the wind and look at the equipment that you brought out on the hole and go, hey, this shot's not, you know, this shot right here will work. This shot right here will work. No, I need to do the backspin. Or hey, these 3 shots are out because of what I got in my red lines right here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to force the issue and doing something here, I'm going to come out over here and I'm going to bring it to the cup. And having those shots, this one over here being the least desirable, but having it in your bag is super important. It's super important to understand how to play these holes in different ways depending on which way the wind's blowing. That's why if they do change in the tournaments where we have variable winds from one round to the next, it's going to be super important that you have all these different shots in your bag, so that when you get out there, you're like, hey, this isn't what we practice. This is and that stuff's not going to work. And being able to adapt because you have different shots that you can take, and you understand that, hey, while this was the best shot in the previous round, the rough bump's the best shot here. Or the rough bump was the best shot in the previous round, but now because of the way that the wind's blowing and it's laying it down, I'm either going to have to make a big adjustment or I'm going to have to switch over to this shot right here. And having that stuff in your bag is huge so that you can adapt when you're out there. And it'll not just affect you in tournaments, it affects you in one-on-one. And one-on-one is super important because that's how we get chess. And when we get chess, we get clubs. And when we get better clubs, it helps us out in tournaments. And the higher the win percentage that you can have, the better. And so having these different things so that you can adapt is huge. Huge. All right. So I dropped 1, picked up 2. So it should be a what, minus 13? Which is not, in these 9-hole cups, you need to come in with monster tiebreakers. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. You have to come in with a monster tiebreaker. Because in the weekend round, it's just way too tight. So coming in with a minus 13 is just not cutting it. This needs to be a minus 15. It's dropping the eagle on the 3rd hole, hole number 3, was just me dinking around out there, trying out something and seeing what was possible. That is a super easy Albie, or not Albie, but eagle shot. So, you know, really what you're looking for in this type of tournament is you have to come in to the final round with a minus 14 or better. Minus 15 is what we're really looking for to set yourself up in tiebreakers for the weekend round or for the final round. But that was just a going out there and shooting it, really no notes, just playing around, seeing what the deal is. Now, normally this is how it would work for me. I usually don't start my week off with any preconceptions on numbers. I usually like to just go out there. What I normally like to do is I like to go out there and I don't do a lot of elevation or adjustment shots. I take a pure shot. I'm in max club, I do a max number. I'm in mid club, I do a mid number. No extra or minus or no nothing. And then I watch those videos and I go, hey, on this shot right here, I hit it perfect. The wind was blowing to the left and I ended up to the left. I didn't pull enough. So then I'll make a note on there, and a lot of times if I'm really close, you know, maybe a 5%, 10%. If I was way off, I'll take a swing and I'll do a 20%. And then I'll watch that again and I'll start to tighten that up as the week goes on. But I don't want to change my club numbers. I'm trying to adjust for that. And so that's how I normally prep towards a weekend round is I don't start the week off with a bunch of preconceptions. I start the week off with my max, mid, minimum numbers so that I can make adjustments in my game instead of starting off the week using somebody else's numbers and then trying to figure out how that's going to apply to my clubs. So here I did some adjustments. I know that on some of these holes I would do some adjustments, and I did some adjustments on some of the holes. But trying to tighten that up, and in these 9-hole cups we only have 2 rounds, so it's a little bit more difficult. Practice time helps, but in this particular case we can only practice from the pro tee. So if you're playing pro, that's great. Now normally in Tour 7 you get a ton of Sunshine Glades, but I'm sure that because this is in a tournament they're giving you a less percentage of Sunshine Glades. But ideally, you want to come into this with at least a minus 14. Minus 15 is what we're looking for to set ourselves up for tiebreakers. But not too bad. Not bad without a bunch of notes. And we'll see. I will probably play tomorrow just to get this in. I'm not sure if I'm going to play next week. It's brand new holes. I'm going to practice those holes, and I may play next week, but I'm still kind of enjoying a little bit of time off. We're getting towards the end of our season, and we have a bunch of work to do next week. It's colder than hell, and we're trying to get as much work in as we can before it gets too cold. We can't really do our work because of the solutions that we use. We can't do our work if the temperature is less than 50. And ideally, we want the temperature to be above 60. And this week, like right now, we're not going to get over 50 today, 52. Next week, we've got 3 days where we're going to be in the 60s, but that'll only be for like 3 or 4 hours a day. And so we're trying to get as much stuff in as we possibly can so that we can do that. So we're working long days trying to get as much of the other work done so that when we get to those warm weather, we can go around to a bunch of different houses and do our stuff. So we'll see how it goes next week. I'll try and shoot some of those holes, some of the new holes for the Phantom tournament, and get those posted for the Phantom Mansion. I'll try and shoot some of those holes. But otherwise, I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow, and have a great, guys and gals. Thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Thanks. But that was the qualifying round for the Cursed Swamp. Thanks for watching.